also she's from Germany, and she just competed last month at the Dennis James Europa Championship. She looks like more like what physique is, where you've seen women's now who are getting kind of past the criteria of the division.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I said, it's just about the time and the work these ladies put into. I think some women need to really think about where they want to go with their future in this sport.
Right.
Mhm. Yes. But this, like I said, there's a couple ladies who I look at, and I'm telling you, I've I look at them. They could be one. Most definitely is a women's bodybuilder, and there's one that has potential to become women's bodybuilder. If she ever thinks about it, she did had a stint in it for half a minute, but she didn't compete after that, and that is I'm about to pull them up. We have here. I mean, it's just side by side of Zama Benta and Lavinia Barros. Now, Zama, she's from Brazil, just like Lavinia. And if you follow Zama, her back, her shoulders, those the traps are just crazy. I mean, she's been a top three competitor in Olympia before. She's done pretty good. We, like I said, we both saw her when she competed last time at Tampa, and she's just her condition is just crazy. And Zama, I mean, sorry, Lavinia, she's not too far behind that. I mean, she's a young competitor herself, and she's still growing and developing as an athlete in bodybuilding.
Honestly, I think Lafayette might, because of her new approved conditioning, I think she'll might rank a little higher this year at the Olympia. I really do see that Dom and Amanda really gave her a lot of training, and I think it's paying off pretty well this year for her.
Yeah, that's the thing is like she's working with Coach Dom, who is the boyfriend of Amanda Machado. As you know,
Yeah, no,
Amanda's
this I was trying
also
to say. Yeah,
yeah, Amanda's already Olympic qualified. We got here another my man. Shout out to my man, Josh Simkis. He says this. He says this. He says the next draft pick for the Muscle Talk Monday Draft Women's Bodybuilding uh, uh, Draft, Julia Schönred, Women's Physique. I don't know. She
can we have a picture of her for a second and see what?
about to pull it up. I don't know. She's impressive, but I don't know if she's women's physique, if she's women's bodybuilding. I doubt it because she actually when she turned pro, she was competing, as a figure and a physique competitor. Um, mm, I don't see it. I think
She
she
looks.
does
Yeah, I
well
think she
in
looks fine. She looks fine the way she is right now. I can. I'm. Yeah, I can. No, I'm looking. See, I mean, her back. Looking at the size of her back, the size of her legs, arms.
yeah.
No,
I
she's fine. Fine. There's no reason that I think she's fine. Just let her stay. Let her stay.
Yeah, I think women like her need to be pushed more into divisions where they fit the criteria. I don't think she will do as well in WBB women's bodybuilding. She has a good shape to her, but I think it fits for women's physique. I mean, some competitors, yes, so I see some women that are quite large, and you think that that's one thing we see them like on social media or when you see them at on a live stream, but we see them up close and personal, and not as big as you think. She does has good conditioning, good shape. She is, in my opinion, she fits the criteria for women's physique. Particularly one lady who I think could possibly um, move up to physique, and I've mentioned her quite often, is Gabriella, and she is a figure competitor from Czech Republic. And to me, from what I've seen of her in the past few months, since she last I remember when I noticed this when she competed at the New York Pro last year. I mean, not this year, this summer. She's just I don't know. I took a picture of her and compared it with Natalia Cuejo, and her shoulders, her back. I mean, if she can bring more size in her quads and it's at that level of women's physique, just about.
Hmm, I can see
Because we
that.
see, yeah, we see a lot of, we are seeing a lot of these figure competitors. They really are just getting a lot bigger. I mean, they're evolving to the size where they're even bigger than women when the early women's bodybuilders.
I can tell.
Yeah. Yeah, so she's one good example of that. I mean, there's some other figure competitors I'm paying attention to, like one young lady who she's just 26. If you know, she's not 26, she's 24, about to be 25 this year, and that's Christina Zoroff. I mean, Christina Z, I'm gonna call her. And I think her being young might be the advantage that maybe she takes time and she grows in the sport. I mean, she did a few shows here in the states. She was trying to shoot for her first Olympic qualification. She was top three at a couple of shows, but I feel like now, maybe let her, like I said, she's only been a pro for just a year. Maybe give the time to grow and develop, but it seems like I don't know. I don't, it's just me. I feel like she can probably squeeze into the physique in another couple more years.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, you're got let her grow. Yeah, let's let her grow.
Yeah, she's that. So that's a future draft later in the we might be looking at. I think she can probably she you mentioned Natalia. We talked about Natalia earlier. Remember Natalia? She was for a good while was a figure competitor, and she switched to physique, and look how far she has gotten. I think that's also a good
I
incentive to.
honestly think she's fine. I think Natalia even. I think Natalia's fine the way she. I think she's good there since she has a good track record right now.
Yeah, that's the thing is, as long as they have a good track record, somebody's not going to move. They feel like some feel as long as you can make the Olympia or crack the top three at a Olympic qualifier, they're going to stay where they're at. But others, after a while, it's get to the point where you ask yourself, how long can you stay in a division where you're starting to outgrow it? You know, like one lady who I saw who competed a while back, and that is Dr. Megan Morrison, or might know as Megan Santana.
Yeah,
And
she
she's,
recently. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt. She recently made a post about it, about having her hernia, about recovering for her hernias. She flat out said it in her post. I couldn't agree more. I think she should stay with Physique right now because I have a feeling if I don't know how she's gonna do in the Olympias. So if I think she's probably just want to stay in that right now.
yeah, that's a good, say it. But, some people say she's really a lot bigger than some physique competitors. I mean, she took second to Zama at the uh, at the Tampa Bay show. But like I said, it's about the process as you grow and develop as a athlete. She's like I said again, she has a good amount of size. She has
True,
a
I
great
just
tapering waist. Yeah, good conditioning. I mean, we've got to wait and see how she does at the Olympia. I mean, she's I've seen her and talked to her a bit, and she's like I said, she's right there. She's like at the, as some people might say it, she's at the cusp. You know.
Yeah, no, just word of advice to anyone, whoever meets her, please do not ask for her autograph. I learned that the hard way.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
I know. Sometimes you,
it wasn't my fault that day. I didn't know doctors weren't authorized to sign as something as an autograph because they will get in trouble. I mean, a little heads up next time, or better yet, be honest. You don't have to be, rude about it.
well, that thing is, because a lot of people will take that doctor's autograph and put it onto a script and get certain kind of drugs. So that's the thing about that. We had a guest from yesterday, the lovely Mrs. Randy Dean. She says Sarah all the way. She's a fan of Sarah Vilgas. Hey, Randy, if you want to come on, the link is in the comments, or I can send you a link. You come in and give your thoughts. Who you think would you like to see switch divisions in the sport of bodybuilding?
Who is she?
Oh, Randy, I interviewed we did yesterday. Me, her, and another lady. We
Oh,
did a
right,
little
right.
panel.
Yes, I saw that title card. Yeah, I saw that. So they were talking about they were dealing with some medical. I was at work all day, so were you free talking about like medical something? They had some medical issues or something, or
Yeah, they because both of them were survivors of cancers, and Randy also had a heart
oh
attack.
wow,
Yeah, because Wendy she had breast cancer, and Randy had thyroid cancer, and it is tough what they've been through, and that's why we had a little
and
discussion.
she is like
Yeah,
what compare is she
well, Randy, she's right now she's an amateur. She's
amateur
planning.
what?
She's doing Wins Physique. She's right now 9 weeks out from doing Master USA. Wendy, she's an IFB Physique Pro. She just turned pro at Universe, just this summer. But yeah, Sarah, I think Sarah is like the standard. If you if you can describe Sarah as a professional player, I think she's kind of like I would say the Tom Brady of Wins Physique. Sarah. Some say that Sarah could switch if she could. But the thing is, her physique is kind of, she has her. I think the thing that separates Sarah with some of these ladies is her conditioning. She's always, except for that year when she lost to Natalia, she usually comes in crazy condition. Could she move up to women's bodybuilding? I doubt it. I can't see her in division because she's kind of a little bit on the more lean side. She's a good sized woman, but she's a bit more leaner. This is what the ladies right now in the physique division is chasing after. She's right now kind of like Andrea. She's the gold standard of her division.
Yeah,
Yeah. But like I said, she's come a long way. There's a debate that the judges set the standard of this division to her physique. You know, she has, she's not too big, not too small, great, small waist. She has great density and muscle. Her conditioning is pretty, it's always been on top, except for the 1 year when she lost to Natalia. And, her back, her glutes are just crazy. That's one thing about glutes. She's always has crazy condition in her glutes, good development in her back. I mean, like again, she wouldn't be do as well in women's bodybuilding because she's very undersized. Broad shoulders. I mean, just top of the line right now.
yeah.
And she's on her
She's
way possibly for a fifth, um, you know, Miss Olympia physique title. So here's we get here. Shout out to Randy. She says this. He says Sarah sets the standard for what women's physique should be. Yeah, that's the thing is she sets the standard, but then you have some women who are not following that standard, and because the chase for that standard, I think they're surpassing what the criteria is supposed to be for the division. That's why some women I think should really consider where they want to go. It's some women are not, built the same as others. I think, Sarah's kind of a naturally tall and leaner woman, you know, and that's the thing. This is from
Pro League Vice President. This will be your Mr. Olympia recap for the women's physique division. In first place, we had Sarah, who obviously retained her title. Overall, I think Sarah brought a great look to the stage. You see, she has very good balance and overall muscle fullness. Everything about her physique really pops a lot on stage. Her conditioning is, again, just like last year, right where it needs to be. In every pose, basically, she has very good balance overall. Front double, side chest, back double, side tricep and abdominals and thigh. The midsection was detailed and popping, so her ab and thigh look great this year again. The only thing I would say for her is in the back double bicep, she has the depth and the detail back there. But, during the show, the back double bicep just wasn't popping as much in the back itself, in her back pose. I think that's really the main thing that, she can work on going into next year and improve upon is, just making that back double bicep pose into more of a strength, because the rest of her physique is right where it needs to be. And there's no more development that, needs to be made there. In second.
There we go. That's Tyler Mannion, who is the vice president of the NPC. We just had a guest that's popped in. I hadn't seen him in a long time. I hadn't seen this is my brother. I hadn't seen my brother forever. He's here.
Oh, him?
He's here. It's
What
my
up?
brother.
Keith
My
Williams?
brother.
Yeah, what up? What up?
My dear brother
Oh,
Nipsey.
you're Tina's husband.
dear
I heard
brother
so much
Nipsey.
about you, sir. How are you?
Good. I'm good. How are you?
Good. How you been,
Yeah.
sir?
I've been
Alex, this
good.
is
Can't
Keith.
complain.
Yeah. Alex,
Yeah,
this is Keith. Keith, this is Alex.
How you doing?
yeah. I follow. Yeah, I follow your wife on. I follow your wife on Instagram. She's really. I think she's a very good professional right there. I think she's very talented.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Working at it. Working on it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how's she
'Cause
feeling right now? Is
my
she,
big brother.
Pissed off.
Yeah, we've been talking. Yeah, because as you know, Tina did the Grand Prix just can't be. It's been about a couple of weeks ago now, and
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with these judges. I mean, whew, I mean,
Still haven't
oof,
gotten back with us. Still haven't gave us any answers. It's just when these women work this hard, and like I said, it's hard to explain to people when you got a girl who was dead last going to the Olympia. And, a girl who was dead last at the Titan Show going to Olympia, who's also from Kansas as well, it makes no sense. When you got a judge, you got one girl now going to wellness because of judging, and that may have been Christina's plan the whole entire time. But, it's just frustrating, especially when, you've been a fifth, it's one thing for me to sit here and come on and speak as a fan, but as a coach, as a 15-year pro, and as a judge as well, a head judge as well, it's very frustrating, and Joey at the show was yelling, things at the judge, and I was videotaping so I can really yell that, come on, like, get your shit together. These women put a lot of time and effort into what they do, and not knocking, it's one of those things when you have a girl like Tina or a woman like Tina who put on 10 pounds, because that's what Steve Weinberger. So, we're talking about the head judge of the Olympia. We're talking about the head judge of the Arnold telling, and other people telling us what we need to do in order to get ready for the next show. And that's what Tina did. And she put 10 pounds more size on, didn't lose any conditioning. If you go back and look at the pictures, and to be ninth, to place, no offense, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, to place behind fucking girls who weren't even in shape, not even in shape. When I went to this show, I wasn't worried about anything, and not that you shouldn't, because you never know what's going to come, but not worried because of the homework and the due diligence that she did on her part, and not only did on her part, and we did on our part as a team, and to watch to see how it played and unfolded, it's just sad to see, and that's why, again, as a significant other, as a coach, as a judge, and as a competitor, it's just disheartening to see that happen. So
couldn't agree
yeah.
more.
Yeah, I know it's tough for Tina because we talked and and the work she put in there. And, this show was a great opportunity for her because we're gonna pull this up real quick, fellas. We just went to Tina's IG for a minute, and she Keith was the one who told Tina to switch over to women's physique, to women's bodybuilding.
yeah, yep. And again, when I'm looking and I'm sitting here looking and comparing picture by picture to every other girl, the girl who wanted Dasan, you guys will understand when she gets to Olympia stage what's going to happen.
Yeah, I looked at her size. She doesn't look like she. Well, she does have. She was lucky, but I don't think she might not make it to the top 10. I think she might rank a little lower than she might anticipate.
And again, it's just like Joey kept saying. I love what Joey does. This is women's bodybuilding. this is not women's physique. This is women's bodybuilding. And so it's one of those things. And when and the crazy thing is most people do diuretics and shit before. Tina didn't do any of that shit. She just came in and and was perfect. And so it's one of those things where you're sitting here and this judge has not gotten back to us. We finally reached out to Sandy, but I think Sandy was in France. But it's one of those things where again, I always say things will play out on the Olympia stage in real time, and then people will understand what I'm talking about. And even Christina. I mean, Christina. The thing about Christina is she's in good shape, but where she can nail her conditioning, it's lights out. But I don't. Some people just. It's not. I wouldn't say wouldn't put in the effort. Just she didn't. She just. Again, when you're losing, and when you got some girls losing to girls they just beat at a show 6 weeks ago, a week ago, and losing, and you're looking at these judges and scratching their head women bodybuilding don't do a most muscular. That told me everything I need to know about a judge right away. You're doing a most muscular pose. What the fuck are you talking about? And looking at the girl from Costa Rica, looking at Ava, and again, no disrespect, but again, I am a judge. I'm a judge. I'm a fucking 15-year pro. 15 years I've been in this game. And my coach as well. So when I'm looking, I'm sitting here saying, my job as a coach, my job as a judge is to give the most complete answer and put the best athletes where they need to be. And when you can't give me that resolve of that answer, and Joey Belt, who's also IFBB pro, I think he's 2 years, but he coaches and poses with some of the top guys in the industry and women in the industry. And we're both looking at each other and shaking our head like, what the hell is going on? We're not just fans anymore. We're coaches, we're competitors. And Steve always said it to me, the best, and I trust Steve because, Steve is the best there is in the game when it comes to judging. He says, the eye in the sky don't lie. So when you're standing there, it's one thing if I'm looking at pictures, and not there, but I am sitting in VIP section looking like, what the hell is going on? And if you listen to the video, you can hear Joey's like, this is women's bodybuilding. Go down your checklist. And even the girl Santos, when she got off the plane with Tina, was like, they're looking at this judge who is completely confused on what he's actually doing. And I look at Santos, I'm like, hell, how do you prepare yourself mentally to go onto the biggest stage in the world in 2 or 3 weeks from now and after placing dead last at this show? And a week before, you at the Rising Phoenix and went third, to Andrea and to who was the second place girl? Oh, and to
Natalia.
Yeah.
Wait, Alex, you all right, brother?
I'm fine. Sorry.
That's all right. Wait, we got a comment here. Shout out to my man, Josh says, with the next draft pick of Muscle Talk Monday draft women's physique draft, Amanda Almodova women's figure. Oh, I think I know what he's talking about because Amanda, I think she last competed at Chicago a while back. She's done the show a couple of times. She's only been a pro this is gonna be her second year as a pro in figure. Could she do physique? I'm gonna pull up her picture and link. You want to check it out. You might give y'all thoughts. I said again, some of these figure competitors are getting to the point where they're starting to look closer to WPD. What do you think, bro?
That's that. Again, we've been talking about this for the last couple of years. Women's physique competitors are looking more like women bodybuilders. Women figure is going more towards the look of women's physique. And us as judges, we have to do our due diligence and find a line and says, no, that is not it. But when you got certain judges who are not held accountable for their actions, like the Titan show, there lies the problem. Because it's like, okay, Sandy says, hey, I don't want cross-racial in the women's glutes and women's physique. Guess what? The reigning champion right now has better glutes and hamstrings than the women's bodybuilding champion, Andrea Shaw, right now. And nobody can tell me that's not true.
We just talked about Sarah earlier. Yeah, Sarah's glutes are just crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's the one reason why women's physique is changing because of Sarah. A lot of these are chasing after her look, and you're not. I mean, not everybody's going to have the good graces or the genetics to be built like Sarah. Some girls are a little bit leaner, some girls are a little bigger. This is a comment I saw that was posted, and it's by I think a guy Yeah, yeah. He often makes suggestions that I don't know. He kind of made my opinion. He's half-assed about him half the time. He just this is from Tariq Gundy.
Athletes and fans of bodybuilding, some of the greatest champions we've had, they transition categories. Chris Bumstead, Breon Ansley, Angelica Teixeira, Latoria Watts. You do not pick the category. Allow the category to pick you.
So, do you agree with him on that?
Yeah. I mean, but here lies the problem with that. And this is where it pisses me off that when they say that. So you're telling me that the kid from Germany who just won the Italy Pro and I think the Europa, who just beat Quentin, because Quentin I think he just won the France show this last weekend. And Sean Ray said it best. You won 2 shows, but you're going to have to take a year off to compete in men's open to be competitive. Because it's like Chris Bumstead. He won the Olympia this past year, went to Romania and placed second to a bodybuilder because that's a transition. You got to put more size on. You got to be bigger and can compete as I'm an open pro men's bodybuilder to compete with me. You just can't. I mean, and if you look at these pictures, I'm like, I had sent Quentin a message. I'm like, fuck, if you can't win, I definitely can't win. That's for damn sure. But again, at the end of the day, it's like these judges are sitting here saying, if this guy, I can't remember his name from Germany.
I think it's Urs. I think it is Urs.
Yeah. If he goes to the Olympia this year, he's going to get smoked. And if he goes to Open, he's going to get smoked. Because he and Sean Ray, who's a Hall of Famer, who speaks from the hip, told him, he's like, you're gonna have to, he goes, to place 9th or 10th at the Olympia, why would you do that? Why not take the year off, come back where you can make the more improvements, congratulations on winning the show, make more improvements, and then come back and be more competitive. Because you've seen the lineup for the open men's bodybuilding. You think this guy can place in the top 5? Absolutely not.
No, because even though Heidi's not gonna compete because of the issue with the visa stuff. When he's getting blocked. You still got guys like
Who?
Derek. Heidi Chopin.
He's here in the United States already.
Oh, he's here. Oh,
yeah, he showed up like last week.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
brother. I don't pay attention to the guys that much.
Yeah,
but
he's here, the States. Him and Hani thanked everybody about getting him here, and he's there. He's been here for 2 weeks now. Yeah, so he's here.
So that means that he's gonna be shooting for his opportunity to try to to win the Olympia. You say you gotta get past Samson.
You gotta get past Derek. You gotta get past Hade. You gotta get past Nick Walker. You gotta get past the top 5 guys. It's a tough lineup, and like Sean said, to be 9th or 10th going into Olympia, where you could possibly be pushing in the men's classic, now that Bumstead's going, is wide open. Why would you change? If you were 3rd last year in classic physique, why would you change? And the only reason why, and I'm just speculating, is money, because there's more money in open men's bodybuilding than there is classic. That's the only reason why, And so, and part of the reason why some of the women physique competitors what it sends a bad message to some of these women's physique competitors, because it's such a clusterfuck in women's physique right now with so many girls that they think their opportunity is better going to women's bodybuilding than it is staying in women's classic or women's physique, because it's so jam packed with a good competitors, in my opinion.
Yeah, because nobody's stacked. Because just the last show they had women's physique. That was well. The last show was the Europa show. We had like 14, 15 women, but the Rising Phoenix had a little over 20. And that's the thing; it's the numbers thing. But then there's some women who are just like we were talking earlier. Some ladies who are just like I mentioned, Richard Daniels, who are kind of they look like they're maybe they take a year more off and bring in the size. They can do well in women because you can do well. Like good example, Sherry Pirami. She
Yeah,
was women's physique, and she made that switch. And look what it done. She got 2 Olympic qualifications, which she
yeah,
couldn't
Angela
probably get.
Yo, you know.
Angela Yo, yeah, Angela is a good example. Chelsea, well, actually, Chelsea, she turned pro in women's bodybuilding at nationals. And
And
now she.
I mean, they all do. Andrea Shaw, the current champion, she was women. She turned, but again, it's a transition over time. Think about all the champions like Alina Popa was. It was Helena before Andrea. There was a lot of girls before Andrea became Andrea Shaw. Who's a great champion. But it was a transition phase of putting on the size, putting on the muscle in order to be competitive in that category. It just doesn't happen overnight. And the signs that the signals that these judges are sending, was Maya the first year. Remember when Tina competed in I think the New York Pro via Tampa, and Maya, remember she was last in Louisiana, came to New York and looked stellar, and won the New York Pro in Tampa. But again, some girls were like Maya, where she fit more into the women's bodybuilding category than some of the other girls. Like if you really look at DeSun, who just won the Titan, compared to even Patty Hansen, as I think her name is.
Yeah.
And Christina, she is so much smaller. I mean, just I was standing. I mean, great girl. Super personality. Got a chance to sit down and listen to her talk and hang out with them at the athletes check-in. But she's just way smaller. Now you're going to go against the big hitters. And it's just different. It's just way different. I tell people, it's like, it's like me playing in NFL Europe and then getting to the big leagues and playing with the big boys in the NFL. Shit, the game is 20 times faster, way, way faster. And for these girls, she's going to find out, and again, it's when you look at these girls and you look at the size. I mean, if, we'll start with Deshaun's caps of her shoulders. I mean, you stand her next to Andrea. You stand her next to Andrea Yo. You stand her next to even Patty Hansen. I mean, in my opinion, Patty Hansen was more complete than DeSun. And to be honest, I mean, the problem that I have is when you take a smaller competitor, and I'm not, because Flex Wheeler always told me, don't worry about what the scale says, but worry about what the mirror says. And when you're sitting there looking at her and the whole complete package, she needs more depth to muscle. I mean, here's the thing. If you're going to tell Tina she needs more depth to muscle in her back, then what are you telling DeSun? Because if you put up a back picture with Tina versus DeSun, it's not even the same category. With depth, nothing. Then you sit there and says, okay, they told Tina because Tina's 5'9", we want you bigger. So then again, you put on size on her legs, which I trained her this last 6 weeks and pounded the shit out of legs, and she came in 10 pounds heavier. So what are you telling her? If she is almost, I would say, 20 pounds lighter, what are you telling her that she needs to do in order to get ready for the Olympia? You're just sending a bad message. I'd rather for them to put Patty in the mix than to send her. Because at least Patty would be a little, because Patty reminds me of Sherry. It's just more, I wouldn't say complete package, but more a complete bodybuilder's package than what she's bringing to the table. And I'm not trying to knock her, because she can't control the judging, but understanding, the reality is the reality. In a week or two from now, we'll all see what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Well, we have a
sir.
comment here. Yeah. We have a comment here from somebody we had here for a long time. This is our man, Raheem Hamilton. Says, "What up, George? What up, new guy? What up, Keith?" Well, the new
Who?
What
guy's
up?
name's
Who?
Alex
I'm the new
Raheem.
guy. I'm
Yes,
the new guy.
you're the new guy because Raheem,
Alex.
also, folks, let's congratulations because Raheem got married some time ago. Congratulations,
Wow!
son.
Congratulations.
Oh, congratulations,
Congratulations.
Alex.
Remember he was talking about getting married. I think last time he was on when he was trying to get his marriage license. But Raheem, the link is up there. You want to come in and give your thoughts. But yeah, if you mentioned Patty Hansen, she started following me on my IG. Patty, I thought if it wasn't going to be Christina, it was going to be Patty because I think she fits more the aesthetics of women's bodybuilding because she herself is also like your wife. She's won the Miss International title. She's competed in quite a few shows. There's a setback of one show where she almost died on the stage. But I think it's that level of muscle maturity
Yep.
that I think maybe condition might need to be a little better, but she's not too far from someone like you look at someone like Hella Trevino,
Yep.
or maybe Alina, but she's not too far from it.
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, she looked pretty damn good. And like I said, no knock to the Sun, because she is the champion. She did win, but me as a judge, the way I would have judged it, is completely different. And I understand people say, "Oh, well, you got this biased opinion." Because I said, here's the thing: I've judged a lot of shows where I had competitors in shows and competitors that lose to other people just because they're better. So you have to have a subjective point of view. And again, like I tell people all the time, you're talking to a 3-time runner-up at USA's and Nationals, so I get it. So I got to be completely transparent and honest with an athlete, regardless of who they are when they go on stage, so that they don't get screwed over.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we talk about how I think the IFBB needs to sit down and set the criteria and stick to the criteria is originally that was created for women's physique and other divisions. The men, y'all get a little more allowances because it's only technically 3 divisions. You might as well say 212 is getting pushed out bit by bit, and you with men's classic, you can come a certain way. You have to have that great classic throwback look to like Frank Zane, Arnold Schwarzenegger, or something like that. And to the man open, I think guys like Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, a couple others guys were set for standing for that division. And then you look at, I don't pay too much to men's physique or aka bikini, but all you gotta do is have a great upper body and you get tiny little legs. Yeah.
Mankini.
Bikini. But the thing is, we talk about how I would like to see more women move over because that will one thing to help women's bodybuilding. If we see more ladies, that's why we're doing this little draft. Like we're looking at the ladies now who could possibly do well in the division, but they're kind of my mindset. I think they feel like they're pigeonholing themselves, thinking, okay, I can do well in this division as long as I can place in this show. But then if we mentioned people like Sherry and people like Michaela and people like some other ladies who I mentioned before who they made the move and they do well. Like one person will pull up because I think she is. You might as well say she might do well this show with that is Melissa Tyke. And
She I just see pictures of her, man. She's that was the one girl that I've seen when TNA competed against Chicago. I said, hey, I can take an L. Hey, I can take an L all day to somebody that comes in that complete. All day. I have no problem with that. That girl from the last time I seen her at Worlds, remember, George, and I talked to you, I told you I spoke to her, and I think I don't know if her boyfriend or fiance or husband, whatever, and tried to get him to come on the show, to now, holy shit, has that girl did her homework and her due diligence. So I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with that. And I guarantee you that she will be in the top 5 at the Olympia. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, I can see that. I definitely see
yeah,
that. Yeah,
because
no, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to go first,
What
George?
do you say, Alex?
I thought you. I didn't want to interrupt.
Go.
You want to
No,
go
you go
first?
ahead. You go finish.
No, I did see the photos.
No, you go ahead
Yeah,
and
again,
finish.
another. Yeah, another person went from figure to physique to bodybuilding. I think. Yeah, I definitely see in a similar direction what Andrea was going for. I definitely see. I agree with Keith. Definitely top five for me. She's got.
Muscle Belly's complete
Hmm.
package from
Yeah,
head to toe. I mean, man, it's. I mean, she understands. You know, it's like the girl who won the same weekend Andrea won the world championship over in Europe. If she would have brought that package to the Rising Phoenix, I believe that she would beat Andrea, to be honest. I
Hmm.
mean, and I can't remember her name, the girl who won was the same weekend, but she was just complete from head to toe. And again, I don't, I say that with a pause because I know how Andrea, like last year when Andrea lost to Angela Yo at the World Championships, and then went back and said, okay, I got to come in drier, harder, tighter, and retained her title because she is the standard, you know. But we will see because standards do change. We will see if that's the standard in which Sandy and Steve, and I'm more so Sandy and Steve will decide if they want to go with and again, I would say looking at the picture of Andrea Shaw at the Rising, um, I would say she would probably was like 80%. She wasn't 100% at that show, knowing that she has some time and knowing the lineup and the competition, that it wasn't a big deal because she could come in a little off and still win. But like when you go to the Olympia, it's like I think Flex. I've heard people say this: to knock out the champ, you got to knock out the champ at the biggest show. So you got to come in. The champ has to come in on, and the person that's coming after, like Angela Yo and other people, have to come in on, and Andrea has to come in off, and that's what we'll wait and see in a couple weeks from now. Let's see what happens.
okay. Well, we have here my man here, KLA, the Wanderer, coming through. Just popped in. Just came on the scene of the crime.
Hey,
Hey, KO, good to
what's
see
going
you.
on?
What up, dog?
Hey.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I know you hadn't seen Big Brother in a long time. He jumped on. We, you know, we should have another guest coming if she actually was here earlier, but she might come back. We have here some comments. This is from a man. Shout out to my man John Simpkins. He says this: Melissa Tyke conditioning and muscularity is phenomenal. Yes, I would say
Agreed.
that. Yeah, and also he said this is Alcione Barrito, conditioning and muscularity awesome as well. I mean, both those ladies look pretty good. I'm gonna pull up, here. I just, like I said, just dipped into Melissa's IG for a bit, and here she is. This is like her earlier in her career. As you know, this is one she has evolved. As you know, she's been to the Olympia twice in women's physique, and I remember people talking how she said she should go up to women's bodybuilding because she was kind of like a lot of competitors.
Boy, let me tell you, shit.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I mean, she could
Yeah,
do
very
well. I mean,
impressive. Yeah.
yeah, like again, she could probably crack the top five. Too bad they don't do top five for qualification for Olympia for women's bodybuilding like it used to. It's only top three. So that means that in order for her to get qualification for next year without doing a show, she has to get past, possibly Angela or Ashley.
And I can see her, I mean, I can see her giving, like I tell people, everybody got to put their suit on, everybody got to show up the same way. And so nothing's guaranteed to anybody in this sport at all. So I can see her being very competitive somewhere in that top five. Shitty, looking at those pictures, that's the top three physique to me all day long. That's, I mean, I haven't really seen any pictures of Ashley lately or Angela
Hmm.
Yo, but so we seen Andrea Shaw. We know she wasn't complete, but again, I think those girls are sitting back saying, why peak once or why peak twice? Let's peak once and see if we can give the champ a run for her money.
Yeah,
Mr.
the thing
Williams,
is,
I have a quick question. What about Lavanya? I'm sorry, it's hard sometimes to pronounce her name. Where do you think she might rank in terms of how she is right now?
I would say she, again, I would say she is one of those top five. Again, that top six lineup right there is going to be. I would say, I keep saying five, but six lineup is going to be very, very competitive. But
That's what I was
again,
thinking. Yeah, that was thinking, sir. Yeah, I've been looking at some of these slays. It's going to be very intense this year, and I'm considering how much Lavanya definitely got the requirements this year. I think she'll definitely make the top six. As my
and,
guess.
and and here's the thing: you got to understand, like Angela Yo, and especially Ashley. We haven't seen them; they haven't done anything yet. So, you know, there's some people who can do show after show and come in better shape and peak. And there's some people who can't. We watched it last year with Andrea Shaw and Angela Yo, and we kept hearing Linda Murray and Elena Popa kept saying, "You know what you got to do now. You know what you got to do now." And guess what? Andrea came in and brought her best package. And again, if you're going to take a run at Samson, if you're going to take a run at Andrea, if you're going to take a win Chris, if you're going to take a run at these guys, you better be 100, and they can be 100%, but you better be 110% to knock their ass out, or they're going to hold on to their title. At the end of the day, that's just how it works, from what I've seen
Yeah.
in this.
Well, actually, if Ashley and Angela, they kind of keep things close to the vest, but it wasn't that long ago. We did a little kind of our own kind of a review video of. They did a show together, and it was the Battle of the Olympians. And it was just the day right after the
Rising
Rising
Phoenix.
Phoenix. Yeah, where they went head to head. I'm gonna see if I can find that photo. If I have it somewhere,
Yeah, what about Natalia? Yeah,
and
we almost forgot about Natalia. She was like I remember she ranked where she was ranked last time. She was at the 2023 Olympia where she was fourth, right?
She was fifth, and
Oh,
so
fifth.
she should have been sixth because that's when Michaela should have been fifth. But she was gifted. Let's just say that. I'm gonna
yeah,
leave it at
I yeah,
that.
I think there's
Where you might she might be at this year's Olympia if she's going to attend.
Yeah, and again, that's Rashid's black bear, Russian bear type deal. But she's never just been impressive to me. The best show she ever had was when she did the New York Pro last year, and she won it. When she came in, and then I felt that looking at her at the last Olympia, that Michaela's condition alone should have smoked her by far, and then you understand, like, some of these girls, it's hard on their bodies. I mean, competitors in general, it's hard on their bodies. I remember Quentin, once said in a video this year this dude just, what he plays second at Tampa, third at Texas, second at Italy, second at, Europa, and then I think he just won France this weekend. But he says, just tell me what I need to do to be better. And so Michaela is that girl, like, I think, she's put in the time. I'm not a big fan of her physique, but she's put in the work. When you put in the work, like Melissa took off I don't want to say 2 years and brought this package. I was like, I can take an L. Like I told Tina, I said, if you lose into that, you got to take the L because that's a complete package. And you got to be honest with yourself. She is fucking complete from top to bottom. The pictures that you just showed when she was in Chicago was like, yeah, that's raps. Ain't nobody beating her, you know, and that's what it is. So again, when you go to these shows, I hope, Andrea, who I love to death, I know and George loves to death. I hope she's ready for the wrath that she's about to face because I think this year's Olympia, it's going to be a tough one for her. Let's just say that.
Not to
well
get out
here.
of topic, I keep in touch with Michaela. She's actually she's like she calls me buddy. She's definitely one of my favorite. I wish her the best. I hope she's doing well from her retirement. Yeah, I just recently did a poster to honor her legacy from last year's Linda Murray Pro. Because let me tell you, that was kind of disappointing this year how many comparisons we got.
What'd you say?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I rambled too much, sir. I made a poster about the Linda Murray Pro. There was not that many women this year, and I made a poster to help honor that legacy, even include.
Yeah. And
yeah.
again,
Here,
I
but
had her. I had her in the top 5 last year, Olympia. Natalia being the one outside looking in, and so it's just it's we can speculate all we want on some things that happened, but it's one of those things where even at the Rising this year, I think the reason why they made it 3 versus 1, because for one, they know Andrea's going to win. And so now you got girls saying, well, why would I go to this show if I'm not going to win? I'm just wasting my time, So I think they changed it because they knew that Andrea was always going to take one of those spots. And now you have Natalia and Santos, who, again, my whole thing is, if you're a girl who was top 3, and I understand it was only 5 girls, and the redhead girl, and the week before she just beat her. What was the girl who with the red hair? What was her name?
Monica?
Yeah.
Well, she
You
was
just
here
beat her.
earlier. Yeah, she was here earlier. Yeah, because we're supposed to have her come back because she's going to come here later. That's Maria Monica Vega. And, she reached out. She saw Dad was doing this. She reached out. She wanted to be a part of it. I was hoping she'd come back because I know she said she'd get ready. But she'll be back here later. And she wants to give her views of who she thinks might need to switch up to women's bodybuilding or to other divisions because, she saw it. She said it was a great discussion to talk about.
Yeah, because
Because
there's so many women's physique competitors.
yeah, and she was at Rise of Phoenix where it was just her, Andrea, Natalia, Amanda, and Michelle Brent. Happy birthday to Michelle. She's turned 68, yesterday, 68 years young. We have here a comment from our man, XA23. Hadn't seen my brother in a while. He says this. He says, Happy Monday, Big George and panel. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Happy
Thank
Monday to you. Yeah. Also, as as we're talking about, some of these women, like if we did the other day, we did last Monday, we did a little review of the ladies from the Battle of the Olympia after the Rising, and we're gonna play a little bit. And you, brother, I don't know if you've seen it, but
Yeah.
I'm telling you, these ladies look really impressive. I mean, so we see, we're gonna hear it, and they really come. I mean, I'm I'm just this is like I said, this was just about 3 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and you look at people like
Come on, Mama. Get it, Angie. Hey. Excellent. Natalia, you up? Get it, girlfriend. Yes. Pound for pound. How do you like to say?
now Ashley's back is crazy. I'm just looking from the back.
Yeah.
Now the tie's really pretty much covered up. We don't see too much.
Love it. Here we go. Come on. Up next. All right. Let's see that back. I saw that wide back, girl. Working that back. Okay. Not just that. Amongst other things. Progress has been made. Right. Yeah. But this is the whole point, We know. Every year we stepping on stage better. Every year you're stepping on stage. The goal is to always be better. Yeah. Always. Yeah. You definitely brought it last night. Yeah, but we put some work in. Oh, that first. Yeah. I know we did. I felt like I was in boot camp.
Here comes the champ.
All right, Miss Olympia. Here we go. Come on, man. She said 28 days, y'all. Yep. Converging on Las Vegas. Come on, y'all. This is the first workout after Rising Phoenix towards the Olympia. So it counts. The first workout after Rising Phoenix towards the Olympia. It counts. It counts. And there is no bigger countdown than there is now. That's right. That's right. No bigger one. No bigger one. But the guys wish they were here doing something like that. That's right. I'm about to hold you all accountable. And our fans out there, comment. Yes. We want to hear what you think. Yes.
I'm telling you, I don't know if you could say this was 27. This was very much about 2 weeks ago, And 2 weeks ago, what y'all gentlemen think? I want to get everybody's roundtable think of what it's going to be like 2 weeks from. It's just going to be a week. So actually a week from now, because it's going to be next Wednesday. I think next Thursday we start the Olympia. Actually, going to have the amateur first part, and then the main part's not to be that. I think that Friday.
Man, I don't know. For some reason, I think that Melissa is going to throw a monkey wrench in this whole mix of things. Now what I'm seeing, we seen this last year after the Rising with Angela beating Andrea, and they all did this video. Remember, I always say, I always look at Italia as the honorable mention. She's just in there because she's in Arizona, an honorable mention. But she, if you say the odd man's out, she's the odd man out. When you look at things, again, these other girls are not scared to show what they're working with, and that's why they're all wearing sports bras and things like that. And you can even tell, in the video, her uncomfortableness almost to a certain degree. Going against the top three girls, and again, and this is just my my honest opinion. I thought her being top 5 last year was a gift, and I don't think it's going to be that way this year, and so again, at the end of the day, she's Melissa's going to be in that, she's going to be somewhere. I would say, looking at what I've seen, if those pictures that you just posted, she can easily be top 3 somewhere. Easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can see. I can see that. Definitely see the potential. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at me. If you look at those pictures, no tan, pasty skin, top to bottom, glutes, hamstring, tie-ins, back, delts, shoulders, everything. And again, the problem that I have is when Joey was at the Titan show, he kept telling the judge, it's just like you said, George, go through your checklist. Instead of having to look around, go through your checklist. And your checklist, there's not a fucking most muscular on the checklist. I'm a judge. I would never say most muscular women to the front double bi, front lat spread, side chest, side tricep, back double bi, back lat spread, and the front abdominal. That's it for women's bodybuilding. There's no most muscularity because they don't want them channeling towards the men's side. And when you do that, you're channeling towards the men's side. And so, again, when Joey said that, he was like, go through your checklist. And not saying the most muscular made the outcome, but go through your checklist of what the definition of women's bodybuilding is. And again, the problem that we're having in this sport and day and age with even, you have some guys that, are classic guys that are going in 212 guys. I mean, Hade, Koopa, shit, and Derek, both were 212 champions. But here lies the problem with those guys. Wasn't that they lacked size. They were just tired of making fucking weight. They were just tired of sacrificing. They were like, fuck, to get down to 212, I got to sacrifice a lot. So why don't I just see it? Why don't I just stay open? And I remember we were at the World Championships several years ago, and I was listening to Robin Chain, who's the head guy, Dan Solomon, and there was guys, he was at Toronto and sitting there saying Hadi was just tired of making weight. So he went into the open class and smoked everybody. The kid, Ash, the kid from England, Ash, I can't remember his name, but he went into and smoked everybody. So there's a difference between sitting there saying, okay, can I make this transition and do well and win, or am I making a transition to go in there and just be a number at the Olympia? And so that's the problem when you have some of these women physique competitors. Can they make the transition? Or in my opinion, they're making it too easy to make the transition from women's physique to women's bodybuilding, et cetera, because they're not holding it to the standard in which it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And Dorian said it best. He goes, this sport is too easy these days. Bodybuilders can just cross over like back in the 90s. Here's the reason. That's why Sean Ray And that's why people like Lee Priest could never win and beat like Ronnie's and Flex's and Kevin's. I mean, they beat them at certain times in their career, but they just were outsized. And so that's the problem. And so when you see some of these competitors coming over for women's physique, you're sitting there saying, you know, that's like saying, okay, that's what I'm saying. They're not outsizing them. They're not outside. They're not outsizing them, and that's the problem. And
They're
Tina
being
just
with
said it best.
condition. Well,
Exactly.
did your wife want to come in and give her point of view? We have here, you
Do
know.
you want to come in and give your point of view, George said, babe? She said, no, I'm going to be quiet. She has a lot to say.
Yeah.
It's like,
Lucky Rahim's not on here. She doesn't shut down Rahim. But
but
we're going back to this again. Like as we know, another draft possible. We could probably go up to women's bodybuilding. That is Sarah Bradley. Sarah is from the UK, and she's been a pro for a good while. She's a friend of lady who I interviewed, Rama Scottson, and Sarah. I mean, I don't know if she's competing this year or not, but she could possibly, you know,
that is
with the size.
women's bodybuilding. That is not women's physique. That is women's bodybuilding. That is not women's physique.
Yeah.
She look like a dumpling.
Again,
I do see that. Yeah.
again, here's the thing. What you guys have got to be looking for: muscle density, roundness of muscle. That I mean the depth to muscle when it comes to her quads, the depth of muscle when it comes to her back. As soon as I look at her, I'm like, she's a bodybuilder. She is not a physique competitor, and she is one of those girls that if she nailed her conditioning, she would do very well in women's bodybuilding. That's just a fact. When you look at this girl, she is. She's a women's physique competitor.
Yes, women's physique.
Here's again, that what you just pulled up, George, is an absolute women's bodybuilder's build. That is not a women's physique competitor, and she would do very well in women's bodybuilding if she chooses to transition. She may have to work on the waistline a little bit because it's a little thick in the waistline. But again, her waist to lat ratio when she does her front double biceps, you know, it matches her quad sweep and her front double biceps. So that is women's bodybuilding, and that is not women's physique. I mean, not from where I'm standing, what I'm looking at as a judge. I'm like, and I've told girls who've done shows, amateur shows, and be like, look, if you want to stick to this category, you got to stop powerlifting. You got to stop doing certain things because it's thickening out your waistline and things like this. This girl, the girl who we don't speak on her name, who got in trouble a couple years back. I remember Linda, and remember we talked about this, George, at Omaha. They told her she should go into women's bodybuilding because she didn't fit the mold of women's physique. That's a women's bodybuilder, bro, all day long. Really? I mean, what are we talking about? That is a women's bodybuilder's physique all day long. No.
Yeah, we have here. This is from a man. Shout out to a man, Job Sims, because he was sticking. It says, "This is the Super Bowl of bodybuilding. The women's bodybuilding division is stacked. I'm looking forward who is going to win the tiara and a trophy." This is from a man. XA, he's laughing. Also, this is from my man Hank. The Tank 5 says, "Glad to see Keith back. I want to hear his and Tina's opinion on the low turnout of women's bodybuilding shows this season."
Same question for me. Yeah, I wanted to ask him that too.
Well, here lies the problem. It's the purses are so low for these women to, I'll put my business out in the street. So to go to Titan, it's about, I don't know, how much do we spend on airfare? Tina, 400 on airfare. Was 1,000 for the hotel. She does her own makeup because she's great at it. Then you have food. Rental car. So about time these women are making. So I think at the Rising it was like 3,500 this year. The persons are not just, and again, until, and here's what's going to fix the problem. The reason why women are not competing is because of the point system. Now that they're bringing it back, I guarantee you that next year, because women don't have to worry about, because think about it, you had to win to get in now. You could like the year that Tina was 1 point away when Boswell came in second to Teresa and Teresa won, Tina was out of the Olympia by 1 point. But now that the classes are deficient in certain areas, that's why some of these classes are bringing back the point system, because there was a confusion at the Titan show because the guy who got all the athletes checked in says the point system starts today. So everybody thought this was an Olympia qualification, but it was because the sun's in. But they thought the point system started that weekend, which it doesn't start to the next show after the Olympia. Now that you have the point system, women's like, shit, well, I can do, 3 shows and get in based off of points versus having to go to a show. And we've seen it last year or the year before. Remember, George, where girls were like placed in second, like when Christina won and then somebody else won, and the girls were like, well, why do I keep doing these shows? Because it's expensive for women to do these shows. And then I don't get in, and then I got to start all over for the next year. So this is what's going to happen this next year in 2026. Girls are going to do more shows because now that the point system's back, they know they have a better chance of getting into the Olympia than they've ever had before. Like that, and that's the way it was. Think about it. When Rising Phoenix brought it back, women's bodybuilding back, the point system was in effect. So when Tina did Omaha, I think she was 3rd or 4th. Rising Phoenix, who has sponsored the show, was like, hey, you're close. So you pick a show, we're going to pay for it. And then she did another show. And then the last show she did was Chicago and then missed out on Olympia by 1 point. So the point system helps a lot to entice these classes that are lacking. And I'm not just saying women's bodybuilders, whatever the classes that they're lacking, is going to help entice these athletes to do more shows because the point system is back implemented into the system.
Well, with the point system, it's not going to really go towards women's bodybuilding, men's bodybuilding, figure, and physique, because those have low numbers. The point system is for, if you like, only shows we can get Olympia, straight Olympia qualification is some of the top tier shows, like I think New York and maybe in the Arnold. If you're women's bodybuilder, physique competitor, men's bodybuilder, you do regular show, you just go straight in to the Olympia. You don't have to do another show after that because they don't have the numbers. I remember you talking about that, how it's kind of like my man Keith, he's been in the league, he played in the NFL, and you know how to do drafts, and
Yep.
and especially when they do it won't be too long for it's time for the pennant race is coming up right now for baseball, and it won't be long for it's time for the the race for the World Series. Super Bowl. And how sometimes you have that team and you wait for that. Like if you're a team in a certain division or league, and you're waiting to see which team could possibly either get you the Super Bowl or stop you from getting the Super Bowl. We've seen this in football. How you I think what was a good example of that? I think it was. I'm trying to think of was it the Cowboys one year versus who was it? They were waiting for the team to lose in the Super Bowl so they can be able to get into the conference. What was that? Who was that?
Well, here's the thing. Like the worst teams, the best teams are like the last in the draft. So it works from the bottom to the top. So the Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles are always, this last year were the bottom of the draft. So there was like the 32 teams, they're 31 to 32. And then it basically works off of the playoffs and how teams ended up, their season ended up, and how they end up ponying up in the draft in the first round. So it all been based off of wins and losses. When it comes to this, I think if they go back to doing what they did before, and there was tiers before in the point system where like Chicago, Tampa, Arnold, and New York were the big, and I think they didn't even have women's bodybuilding back then when when the point system was implemented. So that wasn't even a factor for the women. So it was Tampa, Chicago, the Arnold, the Rising Phoenix, the World Championships, That was tier 1. Then you have tier 2 and tier 3. So the point system is based off of if it's a level 1 tier show. So level 1 will be Tampa, Chicago, New York, Arnold, the World Championships, what they don't have anymore. Then tier 2 would probably be like Toronto and all these little shows in between, and tier 3. So the point system is greater for those tier 1 shows than the tier 2 shows and the tier 3 shows, and that's how that works.
Yeah.
I want to ask something. I want to ask something real quick, like about the topic. Like you was saying about the draft pick, George.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
on what in terms of what, like a lottery draft pick?
Yeah, like if you think about this, if you can select any female bodybuilder, from a division that could possibly, go up to the division, maybe to like with Christina Mendoza going out, you lose a female bodybuilder. So how about for that trade, we get another bodybuilder to take her place? You can go for another division. That's coming. You see, like look at women like Rachel Daniels. You're looking at people like a couple other ladies in women's physique that are looking too much like women's bodybuilding, that they eventually have to go up now that you're losing another women's bodybuilder to another division.
Shit, that's a lot of work because again, we would have to know all the women, and you guys know this more than I, probably more than I would, as far as the women and women's physique versus women bodybuilding, because like that's a lot of girls. I mean, it's like, okay, so the girl you just showed me, never seen her, never heard of her, but I would draft her in a heartbeat because just based off of her potential. But again, it's like the girl. I can't even remember. I know we don't mention her name, George. The girl her boyfriend got in trouble with her niece got molested and all this other shit. But again,
Yeah.
when Linda, I did not tell you guys this because I was sitting right there when they said Linda and Alina said your chances of doing well in women's physique are very small. Going to women's bodybuilding is your best option. Her attitude was, well, I still want to stay feminine. I want to stay pretty. And Linda and Alina are both looking at her, and I remember their faces like, then what the fuck are you saying about us? Because that's not the case. When you have the two of the best women ever in the sport giving you the best advice ever, and you don't take it, it's a shame on you. Because they're not telling you that for no reason. Because they understand the logistics and analytical aspects of what the sport is transforming to, and they're telling you your opportunity is better there than staying in women's physique. And if you don't, it was a girl here a local show told her, like, hey, you doing bikini, but based off your body, Randy and the guys here, Jack Tatone's crew, you're better off doing women's wellness than women's bikini. What did the girl do? She went after winning one class, I think in Masters, and placing second, she went to the next show and she was placed worse. Because when you go in front of the judges and they tell you to do something and you don't do it, it pisses them off because it's like, we told you where you fit and you chose not to listen. So your repercussions is you're going to place worse. It is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She won Masters in Iowa.
Yeah. 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 Like a good example is like we talked about earlier, Mela. As you know, Mela was for a good while women's physique. And she started out figured. But I think maybe she might need to go back to women's physique. Because she hasn't.
I don't know. And Tina would be the prime. Her and Mela are friends. What I think would happen with that, and Tina says it best, is people start getting into Mela's ear saying she needed to be bigger, and she didn't. Right, Tina? She needed to be bigger, and she got bigger, and she lost some of her aesthetics by getting bigger. Because when she came into the New York Pro via Tampa, because that's during COVID, she was spot on, and she looked great. And then I think her boyfriend at the time started training her, and she started getting bigger. And again, people understand when you start getting bigger to a certain point, when you're closer, your waistline and things start changing. And from that point on, Mela never did as well as she could have, because she just started getting bigger, and again, it's unfortunate that some of these people listen to people and get bad advice instead of, sitting there saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's just like Sandy tells and I know this via the conversation I had with Andrea. Don't change a thing, just come in drier and sharper. That's all you need to do. And if you have Sandy and these judges saying this to you, why would you change anything? Those are the ones you got to appease anyway. Ain't got to appease the audience. Ain't got to appease me. You got to appease the judges on what they want.